Hi, welcome to the Caucus for Women in Statistics 50th Anniversary Interview Series. In this interview, we are featuring our 1997 President, Sandra Stinnett, who will be interviewed by one of our 50th Anniversary Committee members, Rochelle Furr.
All right. So Sandra, it's nice meeting you. My name is Li Tang. I'm currently associate member in the Department of Statistics at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I'm helping on the organization committee for celebrating the 50th anniversary for CWS. And today we'd like to have a brief interview with you about your professional experience and also maybe your vision about, for example, females as statisticians or leaders in the community. So to begin with, do you mind introducing yourself?
Okay. My name is Sandra Stinnett, and I was president of the caucus way back in 1997, a long time ago. Right now, I am associate professor of biostatistics and bioinformatics at Duke University, and I'm in my 27th year here. When I first came to Duke, I managed a group of statisticians in the Duke Clinical Research Institute. But about 20 years ago, I had an opportunity to go to the Duke Eye Center, and that's where I am now. I work with physicians, fellows, residents, medical students on planning and analysis of their research projects in ophthalmology. And I also teach medical statistics in a program we have through the medical school that's called the Master of Biomedical Science program.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That sounds like a busy life.
Yes, it is. I enjoy it though. It's good.
And our next question, I believe the audience is also interested in, is that how you ended up becoming a statistician?
Well, that's an interesting question. I became a statistician by accident.
Oh.
I managed to get through college with no math courses at all.
Mm-hmm.
I had started out at Baylor in Waco, Texas in biology, and then I transferred to the University of Houston and changed my major to psychology. So when I finished, there wasn't really much I could do with that degree. I didn't know what to be or where I should go. So I just decided I would start taking math classes one at a time at night, just to see where it would lead me, or if it would lead me to anything. And I was also at the same time pursuing Spanish classes at Berlitz School of Languages in Houston. So as time went on, I had to meet with my calculus teacher quite a few times. And it turns out that his wife was a student at the University of Texas School of Public Health. And she was in international health. And I thought, oh, that's great. That's what I want to be. So I went there for an interview. And the person I talked to was an epidemiologist. And he said, well, I don't know about international health. Have you had any math classes? And I said, well, I'm taking them now, trying to figure out something to be. And he said, well, why don't you study biometry? So I asked him what that was. And he explained basically statistics in public health. So he also had a project that was looking at high blood pressure in Blacks in Panama. And he said, you could work for me, pursue this degree and use your Spanish. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And so that's how I stumbled into biostatistics. And I got my master's degree there at the University of Texas in School of Public Health. And then I worked in a research unit there for a few years. And then I came to North Carolina to pursue my doctorate at University of North Carolina School of Public Health. So it was a fortunate accident. I'm glad it happened. It was just by chance, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a pleasant accident, I would call
Yes.
that. And following that question, we know that you were involved in the CWS, and what are your memories about your experience with CWS?
Okay, well, I actually joined the caucus in about 1984 or 85, somewhere in there, while I was a student at the University of North Carolina, and just thought it would be interesting to pursue, and maybe I'd meet some people. As it turned out, I actually ran for representative at large and won that in 1986. And at that time, I remember in particular, I think Arlene Ashe was the president, and I remember Sandra McKenzie,
Mhm.
Nancy Gordon, Nancy Geller, Stephanie Shipp, Marie Argana, and Carolee Bush. Oh, and Cynthia Clark too, and Anna Nevius. Those were the names that were around back then, and some continued beyond that. And when in those days, and it may still be the case, when you're elected to representative at large, you have to write a newsletter article.
Mhm.
So at the time, I was managing a consulting lab at the University of North Carolina, and I was trying to design, even though I was a student, I was trying to design a course on consulting for the university, for the department. So I wrote my article for the caucus on that topic. And shortly thereafter, Janice Durr, who was running the consulting lab at Penn State, contacted me. And we started working together on presenting workshops on consulting, and ended up presenting 2 at JSM meetings. I think it was 1993 and 94. So just writing that newsletter article kind of provided an opportunity I wasn't expecting. And it turned out to be a great collaboration. She went on to write a book on consulting and invited me to participate, but I kind of needed to finish my doctorate then, so I declined. This was all in the early 90s or so, or late 80s. And back then, the caucus and the Committee on Women worked very closely together.
Mhm.
And I also became chair of the ASA Committee on Women about that time. And I was interested in the history of statistics. And so in 1989, ASA celebrated our 150th celebration of being an organization.
Mhm.
And it was a big deal. It was held in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
And so I was involved in that, largely focusing on the history of women in statistics. And so I worked on several items, and with a lot of people put together a huge poster that went really long distance, not just one thing, but different pictures of women and vignettes about them. And this was co-sponsored by the caucus and the Committee on Women.
Mhm.
And for that year, 150th year, the theme of the ASA meetings was the past, present, and future of statistics.
Mhm.
So I organized and chaired a session with that label, but for women, past, present, and future women in statistics. and it featured presentations by Margaret Martin, Janet Norwood, Barbara Baylor, and Lynn Billard. And they represented different areas, government, academia, industry, and was able to, were able to talk about that topic. And that was a huge success and well attended. And then I wrote up an article for the American Statistician covering all of these historical things we did that year. And so it was really my caucus involvement that led me to be able to do all this, because I kept meeting people that I could work with, and it was great fun. And I also organized several sessions about this time in the early 90s. One was called Women in Clinical Trials, Policy, Science, and Statistics. That was in 1991. And about this time, it was becoming topic worthy that women were not necessarily included in all trials. So it was kind of a hot topic back then. And then I ran one, organized one, which I thought was a lot of fun. It was called, Can a Statistician Earn a Living on Her Own? And I invited women who were running their own consulting company, like Janet Wittes, and other people who worked independently, to describe their experience. And that was also a great session. So throughout all of this, I found wonderful connections with people. And this was mainly through starting to get involved with the caucus. And I wanted to say this one thing, especially since we're doing an interview now through the internet and with Zoom. Back then, we didn't even have the internet, and we had to rely on phone calls and mailing photos through the mail and that sort of thing to get anything done. So it was quite a lot of work back in those days, but it was really a wonderful time. And I think that my opportunities came from that initial joining the caucus back in '86, because it was there that I met so many people, and it meant that when I went to an ASA meeting, I was involved. I wasn't alone. I could meet with people. We had roundtable discussions, breakfasts, business meetings, all of these things that you get to know people in, and they become your friends from year to year. So I guess my feeling for the caucus is one of gratitude for getting me started on connecting with other people and finding all these opportunities for collaboration. I don't think I would have been able to do as much if I had not met all the people I did initially through the caucus.
Yeah, that sounds it sounds that you had fun and you enjoyed the experience.
It was a good time.
Yeah. Following that question, this is from many members in the CWS and also the female statisticians in the community. So as a senior and very experienced female statistician, what challenges do you think that we are facing today?
Well, I think we face still challenges of probably equality in position and salary, but those are improving, hopefully. Yeah. And I think that we don't face as many obstacles as we did 30 years ago, for sure. Yeah. And not just in terms of equality, but will all of us have greater access to everything with the internet and the connections we have these days. I think the fact that we can work remotely has greatly enhanced the work situation for women these days. So, and especially now due to the pandemic, we are discovering how easy it is to work from home.
Yeah.
And hopefully that obstacle for some women will be removed in that they don't have to deal as much with childcare. I know it's a lot to manage childcare and working, but I think it does enhance the work situation a little bit. I think sometimes our greatest challenge may come from within ourselves. I think that often women do not feel entitled to their roles or confident in their abilities. And that may cause us not to step out as much in leadership roles as we should or could.
I agree.
And I think we need to be supportive and encourage each other. And this project is a great example of highlighting women and what you can do, what the possibilities are. And we need to encourage our fellow women statisticians not to give up in the face of some peer comment or some authority figure's evaluation of us. I think that, and this is something I tell myself, I think that there will always be a need for what I can do. Even if I don't have great theoretical knowledge, which I don't. I'm more of an applied statistician, but I think there will always be a demand for what I have to offer. And when you're faced with feeling smaller than maybe some great person in the field, I think you just need to remember that there's a place for you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your vision and experience. Our last question is that is more general. So what do you think statistics discipline will be like in 50 years from now?
Well, that's hard to imagine. I think we'll probably be more involved in artificial intelligence or deep learning or high-level computing. And I hope we will be able to work from wherever we want, which should be nothing compared to now, given what we're doing at the moment. And the thing I hope for is that women are known for their abilities and respected and feel at home working as a statistician.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandra, for accepting our interview today. I think that's all the questions we have on the list. And do you have anything to add before we close today's session?
Well, I just like to thank you for asking me to do this. It's been, looking back in time, has been creating a lot of memories for me and reminding me of how I got to where I am now, which is a good thing to stop and do now and then. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day. And we are to close the interview session now.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.